Well, I'm gonna put on my big girl pants and a bunch of bug spray and try to get these onions planted. We have had so much rain, the bugs are so bad. But I gotta get these in the ground. So here we go. Remember my janked up pitchfork? I'm gonna use it to make 2 rows of onions. They like to be 12 to 18 inches apart, and this is 12 inches. So I'm just gonna drag this through the bed, and that'll be where I plant my onions. And I'm not gonna put it in the center of the bed. I'm gonna start, I'm gonna kind of be at this edge of the bed so I can plant some herbs up in the front there. All right, so I've got some Patterson onions, and I've also got the Bridger onions. I got both of these from Johnny's. The Patterson ones, I chose those this year. I haven't done them before, but they're a really good storing onion. And that's my goal, to have them store a little better this year. So that's all the bigger they are. I didn't start them soon enough. I should have started them a month earlier and then I could have transplanted them. But I've grown lots of onions from being this small, so it'll be fine. They've got nice roots on them. So I'm gonna put these about 4 inches apart so they have enough space and nutrition in the soil to get pretty good size. I will also be planting some in groups. Ow. Onions aren't one of those things that I would say taste so much better than buying them in the grocery store, unless it's like a special variety. My favorite variety is the gold coin. It's a cipollini or cipollini. I'm not sure how you say it, but those are my favorite onions just because they get so soft and sweet when you saute them, and then we put them on pizza. It's delicious. But things like these Patterson onions, I wouldn't say they would taste much different than you would get in the store. But the reason I do grow the onions is simply because I like to know where my food came from and what's been not sprayed on it. What is that? And that looks like a spider mite up there. Some kind of mite. Go eat it. Are you hunting? The other reason that I like to plant my own onions is that I've read a lot of Eliot Coleman's books, and gardening is one of those things that I know it's different for everyone, kind of in your own climate, but I feel like a lot of the information that he gives about rotation planting is really helpful, I think, anywhere. And he's in a similar climate, or I should say similar zone. I think he's in zone 4, we're in zone 3. But he says that anything he plants in a bed after he's had onions there the previous year, it benefits them. And I don't know if they really know why that is, but maybe I have a couple of his books, The New Organic Grower. Maybe I'll look in there and see if I can find it. And now, while I've said I've grown a lot of onions, I haven't grown onions for a very long time, but I grew a lot of onions. I kind of got deep down a rabbit hole last year with onions and planted, I don't know if you were watching, I think I had 3 beds of onions. I don't have that many this year. But it really is, you know, it seems intimidating, or I was intimidated about planting onions from seed. And it's really not hard. I take some onion seeds, which are pretty small, oops, and I plant them in a tray, just a regular planting tray. I don't use soil blocks, although you could. I just put the potting soil down in the tray. I sprinkle some seeds pretty thickly over the tray, and they take a while. You know, I want to say these are only this big, and I think these are 3 months old, maybe 2.5 months old. Hi. What's up? Hi. Anyway, they're 2.5 months old. They just kind of grow on their own. I don't really have to do anything. But you can totally try this yourself. You don't have to buy, if this is your first time ever growing onions, just sprinkle some potting soil in a tray, put the seeds down, keep it moist. They do need light to germinate. So if you can add a grow light, you know, not just your kitchen light or your mudroom light, that will help. And then keep them moist. And when the time comes, you just put them in the bed, or you could put them in a planter. You know, say you only did 20 seeds or something, and maybe you have what would that be? You know, a 3 foot by 1 foot planter or something like that. You could definitely grow onions for yourself, just to try it and see. And then you get, you know, fascinated by alliums, which is the family that onions are in, and go nuts and plant 3 beds of them the next year. Or not. But they're very beneficial, so I will continue to plant full beds of onions. In my first couple years of growing onions, other than compost, I don't think I've fed them at all, and they just kind of do well on their own. I did notice last year I had put down some nitrogen or additional blood meal in one of the beds because I had been planning to use it for something else, but I put nitrogen in there, the blood meal, and I noticed that those onions definitely got bigger, grew a little faster. They were a different variety, so that might have something to do with it. But I do plan to add nitrogen for the onions. And it makes sense because each green leaf, I guess you would call it, is attached to a layer of the onion skin, and nitrogen is what feeds green leafy things. But you don't have to add blood meal or nitrogen. I didn't for many of the other beds, and grew onions just fine. Maybe they were a little smaller, but it didn't really matter. I like a little bit smaller of an onion too. I know everybody wants to grow these big, you know, pound and a half onions. And I would rather cut up a whole onion for a meal and just use it up than have to store it in the fridge. And when I have a smaller onion, I can do that. I think a lot of gardening is not overthinking it. Things want to grow. So there are things that are a little finicky. Like I've got some celery that I started from seed that grows really slowly, and I have to be very careful about not letting it dry out. And I think that is because it's not something that is native to our climate. I think it's Mediterranean. But things like onions, they're pretty forgiving. They want to grow. If I had to guess why, I'll go look in the book, but if I had to guess why onions were beneficial for the next season's crop, it's because they add things, or they add a lot of organic matter, kind of like this. Do you see all these roots in here? When you pull out an onion, they kind of leave that kind of soil. And that organic matter helps hold water. It's got a lot of microbiology, you know, a lot of life in there, beneficial microbes in there. That would be my guess. You can see how many roots just from these 3 little onions that's already adding to the soil. It is important to keep the onion bed weeded until the onions are, you know, pretty good size, bigger than the weeds. I kind of compare it to carrots, because carrots are kind of difficult to grow. So if you've grown carrots successfully, you can definitely grow onions from seed. And that's another reason that I like to plant them in a tray first and then plant them out, is because with carrots, I tend to lose my carrots in all the weeds, and the onions I can see where they are, so I can take a tool and weed between them. But the carrots, you just kind of gotta really keep on top of the weeds until the carrots have come up, and they take a while. It can take 2 weeks for carrots to come up. So that is a struggle that, as a pretty new gardener, I will continue to learn about. But I think onions are much easier grown inside and then planted out than growing carrots. And carrots, you know, they don't like their roots to be messed with. So that's been my struggle, is you have to direct, well, at least I've experienced that, I have to direct seed them, so I'm at the mercy of the weeds. Speaking of carrots, we should go check on them, see if they're coming up yet. And you can see what I mean. I direct seeded these carrots in here. It hasn't been 3 weeks, it's been 2.5 weeks maybe. And keep in mind, when you see this weedy bed, we have had inches and inches of rain in the last 2.5 weeks. And most of these are weeds. But let's see. Oh, I do see them. They are starting to come up. Let's see if I can point it out for you. So here's a carrot, and it does just kind of look like a weed, but you can see this is a carrot leaf right there. And I've got a row of them. So these have come up, but you can see I'm going to be at risk of losing carrots in here if I don't get some of these bigger weeds pulled. If carrots weren't so good, I might not even put the work in for them, but they are one of the veggies that are so much better out of the garden than from the grocery store. And you'll notice I only got about through like maybe a third or well, almost half of this tray. But these I will continue to grow and then sell them as starts for the fall garden at the farmer's market. So in this 35-foot bed, I was able to fit about 200 onions in here. So you figure that's like an onion almost every other day during the week. So that would be plenty, I think, for a family of, we are currently a family of 3 living here. We do have 3 boys. 2 of them are grown and gone. Man, does that get, it's so bittersweet. And seeing all of the graduation, you know, stuff happening this time of year, just makes me think about my boys all that much more. So I know it's so cliche, but the time goes so fast, so enjoy it. And I remember being the one that people were saying that to and being like, shut your mouth. But it really does go fast, and I hope I did a good job of enjoying it while we were going through it. So I'm gonna put some of this blood meal just right on the beds here, and I usually like to water this in, but it is supposed to rain again this afternoon, so I think I'll just leave it sit on here because these beds are already soaked. Oh, that's just what I need, a cat in the garden when I'm putting down blood meal. Why are you in here? Huh? You're not supposed to be in here for this reason. So this is the book I was talking about, Eliot Coleman's The New Organic Grower. And in it, he states that onions, lettuces, and squashes are generally beneficial preceding crops. And I don't think that there's any consensus on really why. It could be things like pest pressure, soil nutrition, soil structure, you know, even things like you plant lettuces that eliminate a lot of weeds because they cover the soil so well, and that can be good for the next year's crop. But onions, I've just always remembered, are generally beneficial for most things following it. Just gonna shut the fan off in here for a minute. Oh, sorry, did I make everybody dizzy? Because those onions down there are flowering. I don't think they're ready yet, no. But I did my research, and I'm pretty sure this was a Guardsman bunching onion. Aren't those flowers so pretty? And I think these that are closed, they have yet to open. These are open, and you can see I've got several waiting to open there. And there's a few more. I've got more down here. But aren't those lovely? They smell very oniony. They don't smell like flour, typically would. So what I've found out that I'll need to do is wait till this, you know, all the flowers open, and then they die and they dry up. And they should all be, you know, almost like a brown color, like you want to wait till they're really dry. And then there's a seed inside. There'll be a pod on each of these stems where a flower was, and in that pod will be the black seed. And I guess there's even the possibility that there'll be more than one seed in each pod. But look at how many stems are on this thing. So each stem in there has a flower. So you'll get a lot of seeds from one flower head. And we've got many. So that's kind of exciting. That's a lot of onion seeds. I'm realizing how abundant onions are. You don't need a lot, they go a long way. Oh good, the dragonflies have hatched. The mosquito situation should get a little better. So thanks for hanging out with me in the garden and planting some onions today. It actually makes the time go quicker when I get to talk to you guys. So we'll catch you next time.